The sun was falling behind the blood-red cliffs of Arizona, turning the desert dust into gold. A slow wind whispered through the cottonwoods near the river, and everything smelled like smoke, earth, and memory. That's when I heard it, soft cries, barely human, carried on the wind. I reined my horse and looked toward the trading post. 3 figures hung upside down from a wooden beam, their hair brushing the sand. 3 Apache girls. I felt my chest tighten like someone had pulled a rope through my ribs. For a moment, the world stopped. The traders laughed, counting silver coins, and one of them raised a whip. I could hear it slicing the air, cruel and sharp. And then I saw it. The mark burned into the skin of one of the girls, faint but clear under the dirt. That tattoo. I knew that mark. It was the same one that had saved my life once, years ago, out in the red canyons when I had nothing but a broken leg and the mercy of an Apache woman. I dismounted before I knew what I was doing. My boots hit the ground hard, the spurs jangling like gunfire. The traders stopped laughing. Their eyes followed me as I walked toward the beam. The cries of those girls grew softer, like they'd already given up hope. I swallowed the dryness in my throat and said the words that would change everything. "Stop! I'll buy them!" The wind fell silent. Even the horses stopped shifting. One of the traders spat his tobacco and said, "You? What for?" His voice had that dirty grin in it, the kind that made you want to hit something. I reached for my saddlebag, pulled out the last of my gold coins, and threw them in the dust. "For their freedom," I said. He laughed, a sound that cut through the air like a knife. "Freedom? You can't buy that here." I looked him straight in the eye. "Maybe not, but I can damn sure try." They stared at me for a long time, long enough for the wind to pick up again, long enough for the sunset to bleed into darkness. Finally, the trader shrugged, scooped up the coins, and nodded. "Take them. Ain't my problem if you get your throat cut tonight." I walked to the beam, untied the first girl, and caught her as she fell limp into my arms. Her body was cold, light as a dream. The other 2 I freed just the same. They didn't speak, only looked at me with those dark, endless eyes that carried generations of pain and pride. One of them whispered something in Apache, soft like a prayer. I didn't understand the words, but I felt them. They cut deeper than any bullet ever could. As I led them away from that cursed place, the sky began to cry. A thin rain fell, turning the dust to mud, washing the blood from their faces. I built a fire under the shelter of a canyon wall. The girls sat close, wrapped in blankets, still shivering. One of them traced the tattoo on her arm with trembling fingers. I finally saw it clearly, the same spiral mark, the one burned into my memory. Years ago, I'd been shot and left to die by bandits in those same mountains. I remember the storm, the vultures circling, and then her, a young Apache woman who found me, nursed me, saved me when no one else would. Before I left her camp, she marked my shoulder with that same symbol. "Now you belong to the wind," she'd said. "The wind protects its own." That mark had saved my life once, and now it had brought me back to save theirs. The youngest of the 3 looked up at me through the firelight. Her eyes were wet but steady. "You knew my mother," she said. My heart froze. "She had your mark," she whispered. She told stories about the white man who carried the wind. I felt something inside me break. The sound of the rain faded. All I could hear was her mother's voice in memory, whispering across years of dust and sorrow. "You're safe now," I said softly. "As long as I'm breathing, nobody will touch you again." The girls leaned closer to the fire, and the flames reflected in their eyes like tiny suns. In that moment, the desert didn't feel empty anymore. It felt alive, breathing, listening. I knew this wasn't the end. Saving them was just the beginning of something greater, something that would test every part of who I was. Before I slept that night, I looked up at the stars scattered over the canyon. Each one looked like a promise. Maybe the world had already lost too much, but I wasn't ready to give up on mercy yet. Not while those stars still burned. If you've ever believed that one act of courage can change everything, don't just watch. Be part of it. Subscribe to this channel. Ride with us through stories that still have dust on their boots and fire in their hearts. This journey's just begun.